heal as a team, we're going to crumble. Inch by inch, play by play, till we're finished. We're in hell right now, gentlemen, believe me. And we can stay here, get the shit kicked out of us, or we can fight our way back into the light. We can climb out of hell. 1 inch at a time. You know, when you get old in life, things get taken from you. I mean, that's part of life. But you only learn that when you start losing stuff. You find out life's this game of inches. So is football. Because in either game, life or football, the margin for error is so small. I mean, 1/2 a step too late or too early, and you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are everywhere around us. They're in every break of the game, every minute, every second. On this team, we fight for that inch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. We claw our fingernails for that inch. Because we know when we add up all those inches, that's going to make the fucking difference between winning and losing. Between living and dying. I'll tell you this, in any fight, it's the guy who's willing to die who's going to win that inch. And I know if I'm going to have any life anymore, it's because I'm still willing to fight and die for that inch. Because that's what living is. There's 6 inches in front of your face. Now, I can't make you do it. You got to look at the guy next to you. Look into his eyes. Now, I think you're going to see a guy who will go that inch with you. You're going to see a guy who will sacrifice himself for this team because he knows when it comes down to it, you're going to do the same for him. That's a team, gentlemen. And either we heal now as a team, or we will die as individuals.
Ideas are bulletproof.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. It is December 4th, 2011. This is Down the Rabbit Hole. I am your host, Popeye from FederalJack.com, and I'd like to thank you all for listening. I'm a little tired today because I've been running around all week getting things prepped for my move over here at the Federal Jack Studios. I'm moving into a bigger area. And I've been running around all week, so I'm a little tired. Plus, I've already done about 4 hours of radio, so I'm a little tired today. But I have a bunch of stuff that I want to get out, and I want to get taken care of. There's a couple clips I want to play right off the bat. Things that are pissing me off, and before I go into anything else, because there's a few things I want to discuss today. But I want to get this out before I forget because, you know, there's so much to cover. Never enough time. But I want you guys to hear this. It's a quick clip. It's about 1 minute and 30 seconds long. It's TSA strip searched an 85-year-old woman. I'll repeat this again. TSA, the TSA Goon Squad, strip searched an 85-year-old woman. Unfriggin' acceptable.
Pressure was sky high.
This 84-year-old grandmother, a snowbird from Long Island who has a place in Coconut Creek, is still mortified.
They took my pants down, and then they took my underwear down.
She says she was strip searched by TSA agents at JFK Airport this week before catching a flight to Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International.
It's never happened in the 10 years I'm flying down to Florida. I have a defibrillator, so I don't go through the machines. I ask them to pat me down or use the wand.
Instead, a couple security women whisked Lenore Zimmerman away in her wheelchair.
Then they took me into a private room and strip searched me.
But the TSA said no strip search was conducted and proper procedures were followed. Here's part of their response. While we regret that the passenger feels she had an unpleasant screening experience, TSA does not include strip searches as part of our security protocols, and one was not conducted in this case. Still, literally adding to Zimmerman's pain and suffering, she cut herself when she tried to lift this lightweight walker off her lap.
I banged that up against my leg, and I started to bleed.
The TSA called a medic, but the process took so long that Zimmerman missed her 1 p.m. flight and had to wait more than 2 hours to catch the next one, she said.
Don't I look like a terrorist? I'm going to be 85 years old, and I weigh 103 pounds. Mm-hmm. And they strip search me.
Welcome to the USSA. And of course, TSA, we didn't strip search her. Right. Well, that's not in our requirements. So you're going to tell me just because it's not in your rule book that one of these goon douchebags who gets a rent-a-cop badge and gets told by some federal bureaucracy that he's got the power, now runs around on a power trip, you're going to tell me that's not going to go off the rails at any time? Right. Because it hasn't already. Because, oh, wait a minute. Yes, it has. Duh. Go look in the news. TSA agents raping little girls. One guy, brazenly took a girl into the bathroom of one of the airports. How bad does it need to get before you realize what's going on? How bad does it need to get before you say enough is enough? I'm not going to accept you doing this kind of crap. Strip searching an 85-year-old woman. An 85-year-old woman. You heard what she said, yeah, because I look like a terrorist. Unacceptable. What would you do if that was your mother? Or your grandmother? How would you feel? Someone goes up and strip searches your grandmother, forcefully makes her take her underwear off. What would you do? How would you feel? I don't care who you are, you're from, what color you are, what religion you are. You're not going to allow the old lady to be touched and assaulted like that. None of us would approve. Nobody in this planet, I think that's a universal thing we can all agree on. You shouldn't strip search old ladies. So you want 1 point for everybody to get along on and get together on? There's one major thing. Stop strip searching old people, and then with that leads the foot into the door with, why does TSA even need to exist? Yeah, we need security, but not them. It'd be better to have private-run security just like we did before 9/11, without government intrusion into it. Maybe if things were run properly and the airline industry wasn't being railroaded into the ground on purpose. They're doing it on purpose. Even the airline industry executives are like, the government, you guys are destroying our business. Stop it. Think about it. In order for these industries to thrive, just like the oil industry, they're not behind this. Because they need stability, just like the oil industry needs stability in the Middle East. So you have to look beyond them to the people behind the curtain. Why are they doing this? Because they want you to. First of all, the whole TSA thing is about more than just patting you down. It's about getting you to accept the idea that, hey, we got you. Everybody could be a terrorist. First it started at the airports. Now they want to do it on the roadways because terrorists use the road. Yeah, and you could get hit by a bus while walking across the street. Does that mean, you're going to make buses illegal or walking across the street illegal or make that a terrorist act too? Does the bus become a terrorist because it ran somebody over because they walked out in front of it? I mean, when do we allow this craziness to stop? When do we stand up and say enough is enough? We're not allowing this anymore. When do we stop it from happening? When do we stop allowing it to happen to us? When do we say no? When do we put our hand up and look down the end of the hallway at the agents, just like in the end of the Matrix, and they're firing their guns at us? When are we going to be like Neo and put our hands up and say, no? No. Enough is enough. When are we going to say, I'm done with this, and stand up? People, they would bring out guns. Not if everybody stood up. We outnumber them too much. The whole gun thing and shooting thing and rounding people up, that's to frighten people and to push fear. They have to do that. A lot of that, yes, they do have the camps and all that, but a lot of that is physical posturing to get you to acquiesce, to go in there willingly. Because if everybody said, F no, we won't go, guess what would happen? Yeah, you might shoot a few people, but they would get overrun within a brief period of time. Those teams that were shooting would eventually run out of ammo, and the general masses would be even more pissed that you just slaughtered people. And very bloodthirsty. And those troops on the ground right then and there, police, whatever they were, foreign mercenaries, they would be engulfed by the people. And then it would spread. They'd only be able to take out so many people. So it's about fear. They need the fear to control you, ladies and gentlemen. They need to be able to scare you into submission. We're going to break. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Whew. During the break, I took a swig of water, and it went down the wrong pipe.
You got a mouse in your pocket or something?
I was choking for about a minute, man. Whew. I hate that. It's the worst feeling in the world when you can't breathe. And you can't catch your breath.
Yeah, and they say that's not torture.
Yeah, I can tell you what.
Waterboard somebody. That's not torture. They can't breathe. No, that's not torture.
Dude, just from choking on my little mouthful of water here just now for like a minute straight, I could tell you what. I would
terrifying, dude. Even doing it accidentally for a few seconds, isn't it? Or it can be.
Well, it's because you don't realize how fast your body starts to freak out. Yeah. It's not even so much you; it's your body will automatically start to freak out, and your brain will automatically start to be like, no oxygen, and it starts to, you have to literally calm yourself down and try to. So yeah, it's scary. I can only imagine what being waterboarded. What do they call him? Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the KSM.
Yeah, they waterboarded him like 70 times.
Yeah, 170.
Yeah, 100 sometimes. You're right. Try it on yourself.
Information out of that guy. Yeah, you're going to get real information from him.
Yeah, because you're gonna get whatever you want to hear, and that's the ludicrous thing about it. And that's why there's a lot of truth in what Ron Paul says. That's totally ineffective, and now they're making it legal to never even have to worry about proving that they had the right to do anything that they did, or even that they have the right to hold them indefinitely until they die in prison of natural causes,
even if they've been found not guilty, and. The things that make you a terrorist are having more than 7 days worth of food or any type of preparation. So if you have,
I got a buddy. He's missing 4 fingers. He's definitely a terrorist.
I guess he probably a bomb maker.
Probably. He's got to be Al Qaeda.
Yep, got to be Al Qaeda. Gots to be.
Oh, Popeye.
Don't bother to mention or think about industrial accidents. My friend's father's missing one of his fingers, dude. The guy, it was his ring finger on his left hand. His wedding ring got caught in a piece of metal, and it took his finger right out of the socket and everything. Took it right off. That happens a lot. So what is that guy?
That's how I lost my wedding ring, because I didn't want that to happen. So I never wore it to work, and I lost it. I didn't lose it at work. I lost it leaving it on a shelf at home. Could have possibly been swiped.
If you have 2 weeks worth of preparations, you're now a terrorist. And in Florida, They tell you to have at least 2 weeks worth of preparations for hurricane season and stuff like that. So now the state, does that mean that the state of Florida is sanctioning terrorism?
Must be. Send FEMA in.
Yeah, I guess that means we're going to have federally sanctioned drone strikes. You're
going to have to start looking for contraband, Popeye. When they come to your door, you'll let them in, and they'll make a pile in the middle of your living room of all the approved items, all the items on the unapproved list. You'll be told they're contraband. If they come back and find these things again, you will go to the hole. They'll put you in solitary.
Ridiculous, dude.
I mean, they start making everything illegal, and now they're even making it illegal to just be private. They'll probably want to say, if you don't want a camera in your house so we can see what you're doing, if you weren't doing anything wrong, you wouldn't have anything to worry about.
Eric Schmidt already said that.
Exactly. And then people are like, oh, well, yeah, that's true, man. I don't care. I don't do anything wrong. Get out of here. It's none of their business what you do, ever, unless you hurt someone. cause damages. Okay.
If you violate someone's natural law, JJ, then if you violate natural law, goes my throat again. If you violate natural law, then yes, you are breaking the law. You are violating someone's, natural law and, their natural rights. But man's BS law, this Admiralty law BS or some statute or whatever, that doesn't apply to us. It applies to corporations, not us.
I am not a corporation.
People don't know that, dude.
Yeah, people think they are. Well, people don't understand that they are a corporation.
That's part of the Supreme Court ruling that a corporation is a person. People think that's just for election stuff. They're like, oh, it's just for elections. No, it goes much deeper than that. It's much darker. We are nothing but cattle to these people. Exactly. I was about to say that. Go ahead. Explain the birth certificate thing.
Well, essentially, a birth certificate is a contract with the state, and then say the same thing. From what I understand, your marriage certificate is essentially saying that if you have any children, they will belong to the state, property of the state. And then again, when the baby's born and you get the birth certificate, you're essentially creating a corporation. And some people say you're creating a trust. The government creates a trust in that name. If you're savvy enough, you might even be able to find out about it. But these are things you can Google. I'm not an expert in this area, so I'm not going to even pretend to be.
No, I know, but you're correct.
It's valid. Oops.
And from what I've heard, it also says the marriage license thing is pretty much like you're agreeing that they can, I guess you're selling your wife or whatever to them too, as collateral. Something to that effect. So, I mean, they can just kiss my ass. Try to come take my wife. You're going to have a fight on your hands.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, we're pretty much convinced that in order to, I don't know, my wife and I love each other. We did get married, and we did it in the church. We did it because we want, if we thought that it was something horrible, we never would have done it. We're going to be together anyways, but, I love my wife, and of course she's sitting right here, so I just didn't.
Are you trying to say you're brown nosing there, JJ?
No, we didn't necessarily. I'm just saying we didn't necessarily need a piece of paper to prove that we loved each other.
Of course you don't.
We did it for different reasons, but again, if we knew that what we were doing was creating a straw man, in our daughter's name, we never would have.
Well, she has a birth certificate, obviously, correct?
Yeah. Yes, she does.
You got a marriage certificate, correct?
Yes, I do.
I do, too. I didn't realize about the marriage certificate thing.
I didn't. I mean, you can't blame...
Yeah, I did it. And I was like, ugh. But for legal purposes, what are you going to do? You can't. I mean, if you want to get married legally... I only did it really so in case something happens to me, my wife can get access to my, she'll have access to like my what little money I do have in the bank or my benefits from the VA and stuff like that. So at least she'll be taken care of. But that's all I really did it for. It was legalities. Otherwise, I wouldn't have even bothered to get the piece of paper. But it sucks that you're kind of pushed into that because I don't think anybody really wants to contract out to the government, although they don't realize that they do. So, there's still things I learn every day. There's a great movie. You want to learn how to do some of this stuff, dude. There's a great movie to start watching. It's called Ungrip by the same guy that made Kymatica and Esoteric Agenda, Benjamin Stewart. I uploaded it to YouTube at his, I offered to upload it for him because I had uploaded Kymatica originally for him years ago to Google Video. So I offered to upload his new movie for him, and I put it up, and it's got like 40,000 hits already. It's incredible. Ungrip.
Really?
All word. Yeah, dude. This guy in Canada talks about how he got out of the grid and got off the system, and he built like a house that uses like solar energy to help heat it. It's incredible, dude. You got to see the movie.
Okay.
I'll find for it and throw it in the chat. Stay there right there, JJ. We're going to break. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back in a few minutes. Stay tuned.
Citizens to advance your ways. All my real patriots stand up and say 9/11 was an
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm sure all the stooges that are recording this, because they now admit that they are recording all internet broadcasting.
Ladies and germs.
Alternative media.
So we're being recorded?
Yeah.
I wish I had my camera going so they could record this. Is
that your middle finger?
Example.
Because I know you have RSS.
RSS, yes. RMS.
Or RMS, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Restless middle finger syndrome.
Syndrome. Anyhow, sorry, I was interrupting.
No, it's okay. Well, why don't you, explain
what RMS is?
Yeah, just give them a quick, brief overview of what happens when, what happens.
Essentially, I realized I was afflicted with this condition, this restless middle finger syndrome. I'm going to say back around in 5th or 6th grade, I spent a lot of time in in-school suspension and detention due to my restless middle finger syndrome. Later, followed me through life, in and out of institutions and, facilities where it often got me 90 days in the hole, 27 days at a time in the hole. Restless middle finger is actually, to me, it's comforting because I know I got an answer for everything because I can just pull it out of my pocket and wave it.
Do you have a one-size-fits-all answer for any question from an authoritarian type figure?
That's right, man. That's it.
Jimmy, what the hell do you think you're doing? And your hand just goes...
Right there, buddy. Right there.
I know how that is.
Oh, I'm just kidding, man.
Well, they would say that you have a problem with authority, Mr. JJ. They would say that you are an outside-the-box thinker, and that is not good. Charlotte Iserby talked about that kind of stuff.
And in her incidentally, it's really the school that initiated this whole thing that took me till I was 30 years old to, overcome. Real nice thing to take a 7th grade kid, who's, to be sure, hyper or active or, but I never really did anything none of my friends did, but, set him up, just ruin his life till he's 30 because he won't obey.
Of course.
Because he's not part of the herd.
They had me when I was a kid on Ritalin. They wanted me to, go to special classes and everything else. And then that's when they IQ tested me and realized I wasn't, they thought I was like mildly retarded or something. I mean, not that I did anything to, cause them to think that other than I questioned the teacher. And that's all I did was I would question things because I would come to like when it came to math, I had my own way of doing algebra. I still don't do algebra the same way as other people do, but I always come up with the same answer other people do. So I don't understand it. I can't explain it. Have never been able to explain it. Ever. Okay? But my math teacher would say, you're wrong. And I was like, okay, I understand this is the way you want me to do it, but I came up with the same answer, so why? Oh, because you didn't do it the way I told you to. And I would answer back to her amongst a couple other teachers, and eventually I got labeled as a troubled child. And they thought I was acting out because maybe I was damaged mentally. And then they ran all these tests and realized that I wasn't damaged or anything, and that I was actually rather intelligent, and that I had, pretty much been pulling their leg for 2 weeks. And because it's not that I started it, they started it, and I was a kid, but I was a teenager. What do you expect a teenager to do? When I went to school, we didn't have air conditioning in the classrooms. But the guidance office was air conditioned, so I got to hang out in guidance, 2 weeks off, no homework, no classes. I got to read magazines and listen to my Walkman in between taking the occasional test here or there. And the tests were easy. So, long story short, they put me through all this without my mother's knowledge. And she got fired up. She was like, how dare you not, tell me you were testing my child. Why were you doing this? Oh, well, we thought. And, I always thought it was just the school system screwing with me and maybe a couple other kids. I didn't realize the bigger picture until I started, read, until I actually found Charlotte's work. Charlotte Iserby's work was the work that made me realize, oh my God, because I've not read her book cover to cover. I have the ebook. I'm trying to get a physical copy, but it's hard. But if you read her book,
PDF version.
You do, yeah. Well, if you read it,
Yeah. Plus, I've seen.
When you look at it, aren't you like, oh my God, that's what I went through?
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that they were implementing when I was in school.
There was a couple other kids like me in the school, and they weeded them out too. I run into them occasionally through the years in different facilities.
Amazing how if they weeded them out later on, many of them ended up troublemakers or in jail or in the system. Which a lot of times, if you think about it, that's people that probably had way more potential to do stuff, but they were just pushed in that direction because from the time they were children, remember the mandatory tests of what you were going to do? They started bringing those out when we were kids. I was about 14, 15 when they started bringing those tests out where you had to take the test in high school to figure out what, or maybe I was a little older. I was like 16. They told you like what you were going to be when you got out of high school. And they told me I would, they got, my guidance counselor was a total dick. He was useless. But he told me to drop out. I mean, this is great guidance counselor, and I didn't listen to him. He's a schmuck. But they gave me this test, and he's like, well, you wouldn't qualify to be anything more than a garbage man, apparently. That's what it said on the test, and I started laughing. And I was like, that's cool, because New York City sanitation starts off at like 65 G's in full benefits, so that's awesome. And he looked at me, I said, and you don't make 65 grand, so I guess as a garbage man, I'd get paid more than you would as a guidance counselor in a high school. So I guess that means that a garbage man, if I go according to what you're saying, with money, that a garbage man is actually more important than your job. So how does that make you feel? And he threw me out of the guidance office. He threw me out.
I had a counselor tell me. I had a counselor at I was in a group home. He told me, I was like 14. He was like, kid, with your attitude, he said, he brought me upstairs to this little room that had, no one else was allowed in there either. It was just me. He said, you better learn how to work out. He said, where you're going, you better start working out now. And, I get it, he was right. But by the time I was 16, I was yoked and I needed to be where I was headed with my attitude, with my restless middle finger syndrome. Because I was a runner, dude. So here you are, a kid, I'm just a kid that smoked cigarettes in the bathroom in school and didn't like being told what to do. Sometimes I'd skip and, whatever. It's not anything that any other kid didn't do, but the school initiated, what they call pins or a person in need of supervision. So the state came and took me, but I just ran away. So now you run away and, and the next thing you know, you're a criminal. You go into lockup. And that's what happened. I'm pretty fortunate. I know a lot of guys that didn't make it out of that system. They're still there.
Well, dude, that whole system is all about making money now, too. The whole jail system.
It started in the 80s, too, didn't it?
Look at this push to get put everybody in jail for everything now. Remember back in the day, it used to be, you'd be hard-pressed to get arrested by a cop. When I was a kid, you really had to piss the cops off. Now you breathe in the wrong direction. The cop's like, all right, you're under arrest for, resisting or impeding an investigation. And they'll take you to jail and they'll put you through the system. And they don't care. I mean, yes, there were cops that did it, but the abuses of the system were less. And therefore the clogging of the system, now a lot of times cops use their arrest powers and and their authority as some sort of device to get even with people to piss them off.
Yeah. They're gonna go out there. You're like I was saying a couple of weeks ago. I said you're just one what's it to you away from getting tasered on the side of the road. How dare you say what's it to you, or that's none of your business.
Rob,
when a cop asks me what I do, I tell him it's none of your business what I'm doing.
Rob from Pigmine over on YouTube, he's in the chat room. He brings up a good point. When you turn on TV now, every time you watch all these TV channels, everything is all about being in lockup, or you see shows where people can come in.
Survivor.
Well, not even that, but they're lockup, like police lockup shows.
Oh yeah, and they show just the craziest people.
MSNBC has a show, like Rob said. I know there's cop shows on like I think TLC and stuff.
There's a
They
show
always
called
have.
Jail, dude.
That's the one I'm talking about, where they show people getting arrested.
Yeah, and they show you in booking where you're 3 sheets to the wind on every drug known to man, and they start treating you like crap, and then they use that's their excuse for why people belong in prison.
Exactly, it's all privatized
treat
too.
them like an animal.
Somebody's making tons of money off that. It's legal slavery. We'll be right back. I got one for you, JJ. Did you hear this story about the the former Arapahoe County sheriff? This guy got arrested on charges of trafficking methamphetamines and trading
I was
for
crossing
sex.
my fingers. I was going to see Sheriff Arapahoe there, but no. Oh, that would have been so perfect,
like
wouldn't it, dude?
like a living legend or something. Check this out.
Well-respected law enforcement officials in Colorado, and right now he sits in the jail that's named after him. Pat Sullivan is accused of trying to trade meth.
Wait, how funny is that? The jail is named after him. He's sitting in the jail that's named after him.
What do you want to bet he was a dick, too?
That's what I'm saying. Karma's a real bitch.
For sex.
Sullivan had a very impressive career as the Arapahoe County Sheriff. His service was even singled out by President Bill Clinton. CBS 4 investigator Brian Moss broke this story at 6 p.m. He's in with...
Why does it not surprise me that Bill Clinton cited this guy and gave him a big thumbs up?
Oh, yeah, the king of Mena, Mena, Arkansas.
Why does it not surprise me? But no, none of this is connected. No.
New information tonight. I think the most common reaction has been shock.
This is a hard one to wrap your brain around, but this arrest had been several weeks in the making since about November 17th. Informants had come forward telling law enforcement that one of their own had crossed the line. The 68-year-old Sullivan was a law enforcement icon. Now, though, he's a suspect in a tawdry criminal case.
He delivered, or is alleged to have delivered, methamphetamine in anticipation of a sexual encounter with an adult male acquaintance.
Authorities arrested Sullivan at this Aurora home, where they say the former sheriff was caught with a small amount of meth. But Sullivan walked into a law enforcement sting, much like the ones he used to set up.
In full SWAT gear.
Full SWAT.
Full SWAT gear. I'm in the face covered up and, the camouflage green thing going on there, the big chopper guns and all that good stuff.
Grayson Robinson, who succeeded Sullivan as Arapahoe County Sheriff, said more charges against Sullivan are anticipated. And authorities believe what happened here was part of a pattern of swapping drugs for male sex.
We are speculating that that's the case.
That this has happened before.
Yes, and that's still part of our ongoing investigation.
Pat Sullivan was held in high esteem in law enforcement circles during a 40-year career. 19 years as Arapahoe County Sheriff, named National Sheriff of the Year. He regularly testified before Congress. He won the Medal of Valor and was labeled a hero by one newspaper when he retired. Now he's being labeled a suspect.
No one, absolutely no one, is above the law, and particularly a current or former peace officer.
So they'll go after this guy for this stupid methamphetamine charge, but they won't go after people for child sex trafficking or anything like that. So it's very selective about who they go after. But I just think it's funny that a former sheriff who has a prison named after him. Yeah, he's sitting in the prison.
He's in what they call administrative segregation right now. He's in.
Oh, I don't think he's in Gen Pop. I don't think so.
He's segregated.
I highly doubt it. I don't think he'd fit in.
He's soaked in urine.
He'd be dead, dude. There's no way. Cops don't. They always put them in isolation. They don't put them in Gen Pop because they, that's just not a good mix.
Trust me.
Well, it's not for the cop.
Well, and even in prison, dude, they send in. You if you don't think that they send people in to gather intelligence, fake inmates, because there's inmates that'll come and then disappear and never be seen of again. They're dirty, filthy. And they would never put a guy, especially one that everybody knew was a cop, in population. But isn't it just so highly ironic?
I just think it's real ironic.
The way they treat him with contempt, like you're a piece of dung because you use 'use, 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 ' That's just
hypocrite, dude. That just goes to show you a lot of these guys are hypocrites, and that these people are not, they're not perfect. That's why this crap where they give cops immunity in a lot of cases, and we want to give police officers immunity from prosecution, to deal with their jobs. That's horse crap, because they abuse their authority all the time. And then what happens if a cop breaks in your house and rapes somebody, right? He breaks into a house, rapes a woman, right? But he was wearing his uniform at the time, so that's considered okay because, hey, he was wearing his uniform?
It was, he was in the line of duty.
So, at what point do we say enough is enough, dude?
He was protecting her rights.
Just insane. And I'm not saying that people should go out and, shoot cops or anything like that. That's not the answer either, but... we need to stand up so it doesn't get to that, because that's what they're trying to push. They're trying to push it so that the general public fights the police. That's what they want, dude. These elitists.
I sort of believe that this is the deal: is that this giant global bureaucracy is we're due, and a lot of people agree with me, and I don't fully buy into all the spiritual hokey pokey out there, but there is an age of enlightenment that's upon us, and I just happen to believe that we're going to evolve beyond this, and they know that, but they know that we know that the central banking, that decentralized government, that these things are failed systems, that this whole money me is we're about to move beyond that. Beyond this control. I think they know that, and I think it's just good that there is people out there like us that see it, and it's got to be nonviolent, dude. I don't care what anybody freaking says. Nothing will change. I don't care how many guns you got. Nothing's going to change until a lot of people change themselves and change their views and change the way.
I agree. I said the same thing. I'm down. People said to me, Popeye, what do you wouldn't be down for exploring the oceans and stuff, or space? I think you're just you're backward and you don't think, and you're old fashioned, you must be a redneck. And I laugh. No, nothing could be further from the truth. I want to explore space. I want to explore the oceans. That would be totally cool. No more war. No more disease. We could take care of each other. That would be awesome. Too bad that's not going to be reality until we evolve spiritually. We have to stop wanting to control each other. And until we can get past that future is impossible, because that future is not what we'll have. We'll have a dystopian version of that where it's a police state and everything else. You know what I'm saying? What they're trying to push on us now.
Sure. And they want to get things started. They already have the apparatus to really subject people to some pretty horrible tyranny. And it's about, I don't know, I see how the bureaucracy was in prison, because it's such a tightly concentrated, microcosm of society, and with the authority, and then with the general population, and like I said, with there's your hierarchies, and but essentially I just see how crazy I know for a fact that there's not a prison out there that if all the inmates got together, all 100% of them, every single one of them, they could storm the gates, every single one, everywhere in the world. It doesn't matter, but they're kept in there. They know that there's more to getting out than just storming the gate and getting outside the door. And that's, I just see that now as I look around me here out in, the actual world. I see governments and corporations behaving like administration, and we are general population. I mean, everything and anything that you own, cherish, or care about can be taken away from you at the blink of an eye. Just like, bam! Next day, you're done. Everything's gone. And, until people
That's
realize...
why money doesn't mean anything, dude. You know how many rich people have had, they lose everything, and then that's when they realize what, the true meaning of things are, or they understand things a little differently. Sometimes you have to go through that to understand it, you know what I mean? Because,
Been there and bought the T-shirt, buddy.
Well, you can lead the horse to the water, JJ, but you can't make it drink.
No, you can't. I don't let that discourage me either.
No, you shouldn't. Not everybody's going to wake up right away. Like I said on your show earlier.
Dude. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to be good to somebody no matter what. I'm just going to be me regardless of the consequences. I'm not one of those idiots that goes out.
You should be you. You shouldn't try to be somebody else. That's a lot of people's problems. They stumble through life trying to be people they aren't. Just be yourself.
Well, it helps if you're cooler than the other side of the pillow like me.
Well, I mean,
people like you deserve.
I do. I go around through life to the beat of my own drum. I don't care.
Popeye, you're one of my favorite people, dude. Don't sweat it, man.
You don't have to try to if people don't like me, I don't care either. I march to my own beat, dude. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, man. You and Tootie?
Love me or hate me, I am what I am. And that's the way it is.
Oh, yeah, man. You're one of the... You're one of
the mold when they made me. I'm one of a kind. We're going to break, ladies and gentlemen. JJ and I will be back.
Mold maker too.
I thank JJ for hanging out because it's been a long day. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We'll be back in a few minutes. We're going to the top of the hour. We'll be back with hour number 2. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Hour number 2 of Down the Rabbit Hole. This is the Sunday edition, December 4th, 2011. So in a little more than a year from now, I guess we'll find out if the world is going to end. I say that chuckling because, well, I don't think we're going to blow up, dude. Do you? Really?
I'm pretty confident we're not. In fact, I believe exactly the opposite. I believe maybe in another year, enough people will be enlightened to be able to start really putting a dent in this huge system that we all find ourselves trapped in. And then not a shot has to be fired, if we all get together.
I agree, because they were talking about the end of an age, not the end of the world. There's a mistranslation, and it's been pushed to scare people.
And the date depends on where you start from, which is debatable.
Well, I guess we'll know if the world's really going to end because Japan and all them will go first. Because it'll be 2012 there first. So
they recognized daylight savings. I'm sure, didn't they, back in the?
Well, no, they don't recognize it, but they're just that far ahead of us on the planet in the way with Greenwich Mean Time and everything. So
if the planet goes chronologically at 12 o'clock,
at like a specific time on that day, it'll start to go there first. So we'll know. You know what I'm saying? So if Japan's partying and everything's going good.
Yeah, just wait till Japan's destroyed, wait till the dust settles, and hopefully you can catch a flight from California over the opposite direction and before California's destroyed. Or is everything going to sink? What do you think? Is the planet just going to split up? We're going to get hit by a brown dwarf?
I honestly...
Is the moon a ship? Are they going to crash the moon into us?
No. Although I've seen enough evidence to support the fact that the moon is not natural to this area, meaning it's not a chunk of Earth like people have
which is the prevailing theory.
Yeah, I've seen enough evidence to prove that it's not a chunk of the Earth. But I mean, look, when they shot it with a missile a couple of years ago, NASA, like 2 years ago, a year or two ago, they hit it with a missile. It rang like a bell.
Yeah, it sounded hollow.
That would mean that it's hollow on the inside.
Yeah.
So it's not a solid chunk of rock after all. So,
Just one of those things that makes you go, maybe Lee's right. Maybe we didn't go to the moon.
Honestly, I can't rag on people for saying that because
I know, me neither. The evidence.
Well, here's my thing. I think we eventually went to the moon, but I don't think we went when we did. I think they faked it to at least get the Soviets to think that we got there first.
Well, I think
because I think we were having technical difficulties, but I do think eventually we did get there.
They did this. They probably did the mission in secret. They faked the landing. It's just, I mean, some of the evidence, I'm not going to say it's irrefutable, but it just sure is pretty convincing, you know?
Yeah, dude, the wire thing and other things that I've seen, it's like, wow. So, yeah, maybe they did stage stuff.
From light in other directions, things, studio lights.
Well, people have said that even the astronauts admitted they staged a few things, and people were like, well, the film didn't make it, so they had to restage it. Well, then why wouldn't they tell people that?
Exactly.
See, so that's why I think there's something more to it that they're hiding. I mean, maybe it's not nefarious. Some people think it's because that the reason they don't talk about it is because they saw aliens up there, and the aliens told us don't effing come back here. I mean, and who knows? Maybe that's why we fired a missile at it.
Maybe
Ike says the thing is hollow and that it's like a base or something. I have to check his newest book out. I haven't read it yet. I don't like to judge people's thoughts on things unless I've read their work, even when they do talks, because you can't judge Ike, especially just from his talks. You have to read it.
You can't say he's crazy either. Just can't.
I don't think he's crazy. I don't think he's. I don't know if he's 100% accurate, but a lot of the stuff he talks about, I do agree with. Some of the stuff, I still need a little more proof, but I don't want to call anybody crazy. He's a researcher. See, I find it disrespectful for someone who, quote unquote, wants to find the truth to be respectful of one person because they say one theory, but then laugh and point fingers and have the same Pavlovian response when someone else says something that maybe you think is out of the ordinary. Well, we're finding out that a lot of things are out of the ordinary, aren't they? Yeah, so I say let's just be open-minded and let the facts fall where they may. That's all. But I think you can't judge somebody like him without reading his books first. So I don't remember what exactly his whole thing about the moon is. That's why I got onto Ike. But I have his new book. I just got to read it. But something like the moon has aliens or something in it. Or reptilians or whatever. And who the hell knows? I don't know why everybody thinks interdimensional travel or, is so...
I'm fully on board with it.
But it's not out of this world, dude. Even science is admitting, mainstream science, quantum physics. They're saying there's multiple dimensions, that there's a fourth dimension on top of this dimension. Even the mainstream news was talking about this a couple months ago. So now they're admitting to your face, hey, yeah, there's a...
well, string theory is mainstream.
You didn't even know about.
String theory is the prevailing theory now. It's the consensus.
What do you think about that? What do you think about 10 years ago you were called a kook and now that the mainstream media is like, of course there's a fourth dimension. To
11, or indefinite number of brains in the string, in the membranes, and in string theory. And, there's a lot of people that have done some really terrific research into DMT. You think about the fact that all through ancient cultures, civilizations, the 13th week of a woman's pregnancy is when the soul enters the child. Oddly enough, that generally in the 13th week is when you can tell the sex of a baby. Oddly enough, that's about when the fetus, the very first time your pineal gland will release DMT is around the 13th week, and then the next time it really does it is it releases all the rest, at once when you die. So it releases a massive amount when you enter this dimension. It releases a massive amount when you leave or exit this dimension. All you can do with energy is convert it. You can't destroy it. And you have an energy, so...
Exactly. Where does it go?
I'm totally on board.
Where do we go when we die? Where does our soul travel to? What happens? Does it... it just doesn't dissipate and go into la-la land.
Some people say they've gotten
who knows? Well, that's what I'm saying. Who knows,
I know
dude?
This Popeye. My grandpa told me that it'll come... That he told me on his deathbed, it was almost the last thing he ever said to me was, don't worry... It comes to you in time. He said there's nothing to worry about. He was totally serene, totally peaceful. He just told me not to worry. He said, at the very end, you'll figure it out. It'll come to you. whatever that is, even if it's just that calm, that it's, or maybe it's just, his brain trying to trick.
We use more than our senses.
I don't know, because I've seen other people die that had horrible nightmares until they finally did die.
But we use more. We use our like our soul can sense things. You know what I'm saying? Sure. My mother was in a morphine-induced coma when she died because she was dying of lung cancer and her body was shutting down. So they put her in a morphine-induced coma to calm her breathing down and to relax. She couldn't have any cognitive thought anymore. She was, she was losing it because she knew she was dying, and it was collapsing her heart and her lungs. Oh. So, when she was in her morphine-induced coma, she was still breathing. She was hanging on. And my older brother was holding her one hand and I was holding her other hand. And when she was dying, okay, he kept, squeezing her hand and, he didn't want to let her go. And she kept, you could see her body was fighting to breathe. Now, she was in a coma. She could not technically, according to, regular science, she couldn't hear us. Well, I shit you not. I said, Mom, it's okay. I said to my brother, Chris, let her go. Looked at my mother. I said, Mom, it's okay. Let go. We can take care of ourselves. She took 6 more breaths and she died. Okay, so there's got to be more to it. And I seen it. When she died, it was so surreal. You could see, that energy. You could feel it around the room. I'm telling you, it's not all cut and dry, dude. There's more to it. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So, JJ and I got onto the discussion of spirituality, I guess, and kind of interdimensional stuff. So, I kind of just threw out the window the rest of the stuff I was going to talk about for today because it's cool. This is actually an interesting topic as well, and there's a lot to get on it, and it's kind of a taboo subject. People sometimes in the alternative community tend to shy away from it. So, I say let's stay on it for a while and, let's throw ideas out there. People in the chat throw ideas out. Go ahead, say whatever. Listeners, if you want, feel free to email me, info@federaljack.com. It'll come right to me while I'm on, for the next 40 minutes. Tell me your ideas or come into the chat and go over to oriontalkradio.com and look under, up at the top there, you'll see shows and hosts, and just highlight it with your mouse. A little drop-down menu will pop down, and the second one down's mine. Just click on it, and it'll bring you to my show page. And come in the chat as anonymous if you want, and, or whatever. Or make a little screen name and come in and chat. Tell me your opinions about death and the afterlife. Maybe where do we go? Everybody's pondered this. Do you think that maybe we're just turning to dust and we go away? That's it? No essence, no soul? Or do you think we go somewhere? Do you think it's heaven? Do you think it's another dimension?
Well, there's 2 competing theories with as far as information goes. There's the theory that information can never be destroyed, even a black hole. And then there's an opposing theory that a black hole can destroy, that even information can never leave. But I happen to believe that all information is contained in every point, and this is not a unique view. It's not something I thought up myself. But when you get into quantum physics and quantum mechanics, it becomes ever more apparent that things don't operate in such an orderly fashion as we're accustomed to here in the macro world. And who knows? Our macro world could very well be a quantum world to another macro reality. I mean, think about it. We're told what our reality is, but we find out, each year that what we thought was reality really isn't. That some people claim that matter exists by virtue of the fact that you think it, that you looked at it. And
that's what quantum physics says. That's because atoms are actually hollow.
That's one line in quantum theory.
Mm-hmm.
See, there's that battle.
Well, it's that thought, but where does that thought come from? What is that thought?
I happen to believe that particles exist. They either exist or they don't exist. They can exist in two places, but this is called particle entanglement. It's not that they exist in both as both. They're either one end or the other, meaning they're either red or blue. They're either we're talking about smaller than protons and electrons. We're talking about in an endless variety, but that particles can exist in two places at once, including another dimension. So, by virtue of entanglement, you actually are connected to another dimension now, and you just don't know it. So, whether we can sense it or not, in our three-dimensional reality, is just, it's theoretical now. Nobody actually knows for sure, and a lot of people have their theories and faith and their beliefs. I lean towards, dimensional travel. I believe that eventually that maybe you can evolve. Who knows? Because then when you talk about consciousness, it's consciousness isn't a substantive, it's not mass, is it?
Well, see, that's interesting. Like, it's like what came first, the chicken or the egg?
Exactly.
The egg gives birth to the chicken, but the chicken has to lay the egg. So, I mean, I think it's a mixture of a lot. I think it's a mixture of a few of these things, and I don't think I think that, and I don't, maybe not all, but I think keys to the puzzle are hidden in the Vatican, and I think big things are hidden underneath in the Vatican archives that we're not told about. The true things, the true history. Because if they can control that, then they can control access to it, and then they have access to knowledge that we don't. So who knows?
Right. Always has been, always will be view of existence, or view of the universe, of this reality is comforting, and to find out that there was a beginning and there will be an end isn't very comforting. So that's essentially where we're at with physics right now.
Well, I agree that there's science involved, but there has to be some sort of spiritual connection. And when I say spiritual, I'm talking about your soul, your essence, your energy. Has anybody, I don't know, has anybody in the chat room, and I know there's a slight bit of there's an 8-second delay between when the feed actually, they hear us on the feed and when we say it live because of the whole digital thing. But have any of you guys in the chat put in there if anybody's ever seen a dead body? I know I have.
I've seen more than my fair share.
When I was in the Coast Guard, I saw him. When I was a firefighter, I saw him. When I did towing and recovery work, I saw him.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
I have seen lots of dead bodies, dude. I've seen people hit by cars, fires, just dropping of a heart attack. It's pretty bad. So let me see. Joe Joseph says yes. Anti-Tyranny News said yes. Rob over at Pigmine, Jack's Rock. Okay, so at least 4 people have seen dead bodies. If anybody's ever been to a whatchamacallit, a wake, and you see someone that you knew, in the coffin, look how lifeless the body looks.
Yeah,
it's
there's
like
no
a car without a driver. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, look at it like this. All right, when you look at existence, look at a week in the life of a fly that lives its entire life cycle in a week. And you compare that to a human who's, how long is one day to a fly that only lives 7 compared to how long is one day to a man who lives to be 100? But does that mean that, are we I know that I'm not so vain as to think that I'm the height of intelligent evolution. So just that, time and relativity in space, so a week, one day in the life of a fly is equals you might compare it to a quarter of a century. So there's got to be, we are the beginning, middle, and end of this existence. It could very well be that it just sprang into existence when 2 membranes and the string theory touched and released, and released an energy, and a new dimension was created.
Well,
supposedly,
knows,
all that ever is and all that ever was and all that ever will be was created in that one instant. And that includes you and me and anyone that will ever become from our loins and thereon after, until the end.
That's what I tell myself to cope with and deal. Try to convince myself these several years when
nice segue, JJ. I want to stay on this topic when we come back, ladies and gentlemen. Tell me how you feel. Come into the chat, guys, ladies in the chat. Throw your ideas down. You guys are already, there's good chat conversation going on. I want to stay on this. Let's open our minds. We'll be right back.
Ain't that a contradiction? I guess it goes to show the truth. It's stranger than fiction, but they don't even show the truth when soldiers are missing.
We're back, ladies and gentlemen. Well, you can't have a discussion about spirituality without eventually getting into the subject of at least touching on the paranormal. And when you research the paranormal and ghosts, I'm doing air quotes, you come to realize that there's many different forms of the paranormal when it comes to ghosts or whatever you want to call spirits. A lot of times it's residual energy that is left over, that either the wall's soaked up or if there's a heavy concentration of quartz rock in the ground, that'll do it.
Or perhaps someone's
your eyes
body.
like a V-star, and it plays back and forth. So,
Popeye, what if somebody dies so fast that the DMT isn't released and their energy is stuck here?
Well, a lot of times, yes, people die. A lot of times, the death is so rapid that they don't even know they're dead, and they're kind of stuck in between limbo from one side to the other. They don't really know what's going on. So, and I guess you could say their spirit is walking around. Look, I went to a haunted estate.
I certainly don't think they have the same memory, though.
Well, who knows? I mean, I went to a haunted estate not too long ago, and it was creepy.
Well,
there was stuff going on. It reacted to questions. So if it can react to a question, it's got to have some sort of a memory to be able to answer that question. But it was creepy, and you could feel it. Now, I don't know if anybody's ever felt energy, but I mean, you could feel it. So there's more than what our five senses tell us.
I felt it so cold. I was outside in this quarry, and it's 98 degrees out, and there's spots. I mean, this is a quarry where back after World War I, there was an explosion, and like 89 or 112 people died. Some were burned horribly with acid. Some were just blown to bits. Some were crushed with rocks. And there's places there where you walk around, it can be 90 degrees out, and there's spots where you walk into them, and it's freezing, literally 32 degrees.
Well, dude, I can attest to the fact that I seen stuff before in my life. A house we lived in, or excuse me, a house that my friend lived in. I used to stay over and hang out all the time. His father and I were sitting in the living room one night, and a white shimmery silhouetted figure of a female walked right through the living room in front of us. And the two of us, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. I was about 17 and almost 18 at the time, and we worked for this printing company in Newark, and we were doing ballot runs. So you're up late, and we had just gotten back from work, and we were just trying to wind down. We were finishing the coffee we had with us we had picked up while we were down in Newark, and we were BSing, and we were sitting there, and the father had told me that he thought something was up in the house, and we got in the subjects. We had gotten onto the subject because of what we saw. We were just sitting and watching TV, and I was smoking a cigarette, talking to him, and all of a sudden, it caught me out of the corner of my eye, and my jaw just hit the floor. And this thing just walked in between the two of us, and I looked at him, and for a second I thought maybe I was tired and just seeing things. So I looked at him, and I said, "Did you see that?" And he said, "Yeah." And his jaw was wide open, too. And he's like, "I've never seen it."
Too.
Well, I mean, there's more. Who knows what to call it? I don't want to say that we specifically know what it is, because I don't believe that.
We saw something very weird. Yeah, maybe it wasn't a ghost, but it was an apparition.
Well, no, I'm saying I don't know because you can say ghost, spirit, whatever, but there's enough evidence to prove that there is stuff left behind. Some of it is residual energy, some of it's other stuff.
True.
And I mean, it makes one wonder that you have to say, well, there's got to be something else. There's got to be, obviously we have energy in us and it goes somewhere. So where does it go?
Electromagnetism isn't the same laws don't apply in a quantum level. So your
where does it go?
Exist. I don't know. Your particles can exist in two different dimensions. I know that.
Rob in the chat, Pigmine from YouTube, again, he brings up a good point. The first telephones were meant to communicate with the dead.
He also said that the moment of death, a body loses, a half a gram of weight? I mean, I never saw that, but I'm not going to say.
Oh, that's interesting. So, like, maybe that half a gram is the weight of the essence.
I don't know.
Who knows?
Energy cannot be destroyed, so it can be converted.
Of course, but what does it get converted into? And where does it go?
It just goes
because
back
it still
out
has to exist on some level. So
maybe it just goes back to the next pool. Goes back out into the pool of energy.
Well, unfortunately, now people are more open to it, but even still, you get people that they make fun of you or whatever if you talk about this kind of stuff.
Well, nobody's an expert, and I don't care who you think you are, and it's all theory. No, it's not the energy of the light. It's the energy of it's the stored energy in the candle. It's being released by fire. And when you put the fire out, the energy is still being stored in the candle, the remaining energy. It was released as light and heat, and that has been... the chat room's
awesome right now because it's going off the hook with knowledge. Dude, see, this is what I like. This is what I love when all different theories and ideas are coming and flowing together in the chat room. That's what I like. I like to see people thinking. Right now, people's brain synapses are firing. That's awesome.
Energy. Electrical.
Yeah.
Energy.
Well, that brings me back to the have you ever seen a dead body thing. When there's no soul in the body, when there's no energy
Chemicals
in it, it
are
looks
still
very
in
different.
the brain, but the energy is gone. When you're dead,
when that essence is gone, it looks very different. I'm sure you've seen a dead body.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
I've seen them.
Anybody that's ever been to a wake?
Seen some. I've seen a guy get stabbed in the neck like 72 times while somebody else held his feet.
Jesus. Where, in jail?
In prison, yeah, in Utah. Yeah, it was pretty horrible. Cops filmed it like a snuff film. Now you can find it on the internet.
Well, their souls will be tainted with that. But again, that's an experience. If you want to look at it, that you have a soul, people say, why do you have a soul? Well, obviously your body's like a car. The soul would be the driver. But what is the purpose of the body then? Well, perhaps the body's purpose, and again, this is just theory, but perhaps the body's purpose is for you to experience stuff in this physical realm, for you to touch, for you to use the body senses to have that experience.
Well, I know
reality.
this. I'm coming. I can't say I've been here before and I'll be back, but I certainly have that feeling that that everything that some of the joy and beauty I feel and see it just didn't seem all that alien to me. I don't know. I can't explain everything. I don't have all the answers. I only went to 7th grade, man. Give me a break.
I don't think school would teach you this kind of stuff anyway. This is the kind of stuff you have to research on your own. They teach you in school to not even think about this kind of stuff. So
sure, and the cool thing is even talking about it. These are just my views. I'll preface it right now. I'll say that this, in my opinion. All right, and don't tell me I'm stupid because of my opinion. It's my opinion, and it might be a little different than yours. Not yours, Popeye, or anyone in particular, but as I say, reality is relative. It's pretty
well.
It's a lot
of there's been studies that prove that people's perception. I mean, there's the way people perceive things. There could be 5 people in a room, and I could say, I could just say whatever I'm going to say and in a certain way and record how I said it in the whole thing, and then, give people they've done studies like this, and give them like a half hour or whatever, go talk to them, let them formulate their opinions, and have a conversation with them one-on-one. And after they're done having a conversation with you, go back and play the original, the recording of what you said, and they'll be astonished at how differently they perceived what you actually said. And people have done studies on this. So, it's amazing that sometimes, 5 different people in the same room will hear something and perceive it 5 different ways. So there's that factor as well. You have to keep that in mind. Perception is kind of important. Remember that.
My reality will kick your reality's ass, dude. How do you like that?
Exactly. My reality's better than your reality, JJ.
Right. Let's get them together and look in prayer knuckle brawl or something.
Ladies and gentlemen, fight of the realities. Sunday. Oh, horrible. We're going to break, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with the final segment. Thank you for listening to today's show. Make sure you tune in after my show to Freedom Link Radio with Joe Joseph. I believe he's got a full house over there today. I believe he's got John King and Gwen Caldwell coming on. So that's a good crew right there. You get the 3 of them together, you better watch out. There's going to be a bar fight somewhere, and Gwen's probably going to be responsible for it. She's a tough chick. I like her. I think she could kick the New World Order's butt on her own. Anyway, also help out Orion. Go to the front of the page. If you guys make a donation over $20, you get a free Orion Talk Radio t-shirt. Just specify what size you wear when you make the donation. So, and make sure you give a mailing address to mail it out. Shipping included, so you don't have to pay for that. Any donation over $20 gets a free t-shirt. Again, if you make a large donation, then speak to Jimmy. You might even get 2 t-shirts depending on how large the donation is. So, I'm sure if you gave like $80 or $100, I'm sure Jimmy would give you 2 free t-shirts. You know what I'm saying?
If you rub his hand the right way, he may.
Well, it helps us because Jimmy doesn't charge us for the airtime and stuff, and it enables us to get the network running and keep it running so that we can do this stuff. And we want to do other things. We're trying to build a really cool call board. We're trying to do a couple of things with the website. So it all requires money, unfortunately. And, Jimmy pays a lot out of his pocket already. So any little bit of help. And you get a free t-shirt. And hopefully coming soon we might get bumper stickers, but guys, this stuff's not easy to get made when you're running an extremely tight budget.
A Jimmy X autograph T-shirt.
There you go.
I'll send you mine. We'll have a contest, and I'll send you my pre-worn.
Maybe all the hosts on the network sign a T-shirt or something somehow.
It's got coffee stains on it. It could be worth something someday. It's one of a kind. Mine looks like the Slav wore it.
Jimmy X signed T-shirt or something like that. Who knows?
Maybe.
But yeah, anybody that donates over $20
you're in for.
So, if you help out, we give you a T-shirt. It's black. It's got the Orion Talk Radio logo on it. Anyway.
Anywho.
Spirituality and the soul. And, we were talking about interdimensional travel. I'm glad you guys we're down to think about this stuff, I like when people are willing to sit and think about the taboo subjects that people don't like to talk about because they don't want to get labeled crazy or they don't want to get into it. Well, I guess maybe that's my specialty. I discuss things that people don't like to talk about. And speaking of that, this Wednesday, special broadcast, commercial-free except for the top of the hour break, my second interview with Judith Ferry Baker.
Say that again?
Yep. You heard that right, buddy. Second interview with Judith Baker.
Oh, yeah, cool. Where?
Lee Oswald's girlfriend.
Yeah, but where did you say?
Wednesday.
On
on my
Orion?
show. Yeah, on Orion, of course.
How are you getting that commercial free?
You got to talk to the owner.
Oh, no, that's cool.
It's a pre-recorded broadcast because I didn't talk to her, today. I did it on Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah.
So Jimmy was
Whatever.
kind enough because
Whatever.
I worked on Thanksgiving. See, JJ just jealous. Actually,
Popeye does things. No,
I
I'm
believe
just kidding.
I believe JJ is going to have a special interview with Rick Simpson coming up.
Yeah, but I'm not going to do it commercial free. I don't have to go rub somebody so I can get something. No, I'm just joking. No, I was just curious where all I heard was the commercial free part. I didn't hear where he said you were doing it. That's all.
Oh yeah, here on Orion. You should talk to Jimmy and see if he'll help you. If he'll, I'm sure he would for Rick Simpson. At least give you what you do is you air like 2 hours of it and then you put the rest of it up on YouTube because that's what I'm going to have to do with Judith's interview.
Oh, I got hours and hours and hours too. So
yeah, you interviewed him for 6 hours.
Yeah,
that's I want to hear this. This is going to be a pretty awesome interview. Rick, 6 hours of Rick Simpson.
Because we didn't really talk about like string theory or things like that, but we got pretty deep. Yeah, it'll be very interesting.
We talked about Judith and I talked about cancer.
Yeah,
we talked a little bit about Lee because it was the anniversary of Lee's assassination when they killed him, when Jack Ruby killed him.
Yeah,
but or I should say Lee's murder. But we talked mainly about cancer and cancer prevention and her work with it and whether or not she thinks they use it, which she thinks she does. And we got deep into that because the first time I introduced who she was, we talked a lot about Lee and everything else. And the second interview was, and usually when Judith does interviews, it's, she has kind of, she talks about, she'll explain her background with Lee and some of her work. And on Thanksgiving, because we actually did it on the 22nd, but it kept getting cut off. The CIA kept cutting her off because she did an interview with me and Carolyn Rose Goida, who I had on the show, and I think Carolyn's going to come back on within the next few weeks and hang out. She's an awesome guest, and Carolyn had interviewed her, and they disconnected her like 3 or 4 times, and then they disconnected Judith and I, and she couldn't get out anymore that day. So I was able to get in touch with her on Thanksgiving 2 days later. And we only got disconnected once, and we did an hour and a half, almost 2 hour long interview, something like that. So between the 2 days, I'm going to put it all together, and then Jimmy's going to broadcast it. But the whole thing won't be able to air in just 2 hours, so the whole thing will be up on my YouTube channels. I'll put it on both of them. So
yeah, I enjoyed the last one.
Well, she really gets in depth into cancer now, so. I mean, and this is something
you can see the passion in the way she talks.
Well, that's what was really cool. Was this wasn't like she wasn't in interview mode because Judith's a friend of mine. She's comfortable with me. She was in like, sitting down with me, having a cup of coffee, ranting about what she knows, and throwing out all this information. But it was a very comfortable, relaxed conversation. So she was very passionate about how she was talking. So. I'm really excited. And I love having Carolyn Rose Goida on. She's great, too, so she is coming back on. I'm going to have her hang out for another 2 hours.
I'm jealous. I don't have the same amount of guests on. Can I tell people I know Popeye? Hey, I'm a friend of Popeye's. Will you come on my show? No, I'm just kidding.
You got Rick Simpson on.
I know, man. I'm just playing.
I can't. I didn't get Rick Simpson on. Even I'm impressed, so.
Took me quite a while, too, man.
6 hour interview. And ladies and gentlemen, JJ's full interview, once it's going to take us a little while, and I'm in the middle of moving my studios, but within the next week or so, we'll have the full thing up on my YouTube channels. I'm going to put it up there for him, and he'll be able to spam it.
Yes, thank you.
So JJ's going to have a forever long interview with Rick Simpson.
Yeah,
I would say
that's great.
Probably about 5 hours, 5.5 hours.
Yeah, man. Popeye.
Are you excited?
Yeah, I'm going to thank you in advance for helping me do that one.
I'll do it, dude. It's no big deal. It's cool. I think the information needs to get out there, especially after I saw what happened with that little girl, with that little kid, that little boy. The father fed him hemp oil that he made from Rick after he found Rick Simpson's, how to do it or whatever. And he saved his kid's life after the doctors had written him off, and it cured the kid's cancer. So
yeah, more than once. He saved,
and it's for tons of other people. So guess what? Yeah,
he saved people off their goddamn deathbeds, dude. I mean, if every one of these people was a paid actor, it would be out by now.
I'm interested in it myself. I think it's amazing. So I'll definitely help you, dude. I give you kudos for, and I think everybody should give JJ a golf clap here. That's just for everybody in the chat room, everybody listening. It's for you, JJ, for getting Ricky Simpson on, because that's awesome. So stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. JJ will have a full-length interview with Rick Simpson, as well as, he'll be airing clips of it. But he's going to have the full one up on YouTube, and you'll be able to go listen to it. And I'm sure it's just amazing. Anything with Ricky Simpson's always amazing. The guy's awesome.
And I'm not going to say enlightened, but he's just a real good, a real down-to-earth guy. He's not talking hokey-pokey gobbledygook. He's saying, look, this is what I did. You could do this yourself. He's not making a penny. He's in exile from his home. I mean, it took me forever too, dude. I've been really looking forward to this for months. It took me about 4 or 5 months to actually get it done from start to finish. So it was an endeavor of love, actually, and I'm really happy that I did it because he's a great guy, and I believe I made a friend, which is why I do this.
Well, dude, that's how it is. With me and Judith, anybody that's ever interviewed her or hung out with her for like a day or two instantly becomes her friend. She said that when people have come down to interview her, like news crews or whatever and stuff, after hanging out with her a few days, they're all very personable with her, and they all, she has, I guess, contact with certain people or whatever, and it's because of you can feel that energy. Going back to the conversation of soul or essence, when people are good, you can just tell it. Sometimes your soul can feel it. Some people call it that gut feeling. You have to learn to trust your instincts other than the 5 that you see around you,
Oh, these guys got to be Popeye and JJ.
JJ, we're out of time, brother. I love hanging out with you, dude. It's always a great conversation. Time just flies by with you, dude. I swear to God, 6 hours just went. It went by like that, dude. Like, bam, blink of an eye. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you guys for putting up with me for 6 hours today. Think about what we talked about